If your personality came with a factory setting, why does life feel like you're stuck on 1% battery by noon? Carl Jung warned that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Translation: an invisible script is running your decisions, arguments, and energy levels while you blame the main character. Today, we crack open that script, isolate the 8 lines of code inside your head, and hand you the debugger. By the end, you will know which cognitive function is your overworked executive, which one is the saboteur in the basement, and the 2-step integration drill that turns the saboteur into a silent partner instead of an energy vampire. Stick around for the printable function stack cheat sheet that predicts which room will drain you next and which one will recharge you on site. Imagine waking up after 8 hours of sleep still exhausted. The villain is not your mattress. It is cognitive misalignment. Every mind has 4 core apps: thinking, feeling, sensation, intuition, and each can point inward or outward, giving 8 possible algorithms. Use the wrong algorithm for the task, and the mental battery drops faster than a phone in a snowstorm. Worse, most of us over-rely on one app and leave the least developed function running background loops that bleed power all day. That low-level hum you feel during small talk, spreadsheet marathons, or creative droughts is the sound of your weakest function asking why it never gets invited to the meeting. Picture a star analyst who aces every performance review yet quits every job at the 18-month mark. His dominant algorithm is introverted thinking. Dissect data, spot logical flaws, build internal frameworks. The firm worships his models, but the moment stakeholders demand real-time pep talks, he short-circuits. His extroverted feeling sits at 4% maturity. Meetings feel like Shakespeare in a foreign language, so he escapes before the mismatch becomes obvious. Exhaustion is not evidence of weakness. It is a metrics dashboard screaming that one function is overclocked while another gathers dust. Jung called psychic energy libido, not motivation hype. When the libido flow is routed through the correct sequence of functions, you feel alive. When it is forced through a narrow pipe, you feel like you are dragging a parachute. The 4-function stack is your native power management system, and swapping tertiary or inferior into the primary slot is the psychic equivalent of driving cross-country in first gear. Before you swap careers, cities, or relationships, you need the wiring diagram. Starting with the 2 attitude wires almost everyone crosses incorrectly. Introversion is not a social battery icon. It is a data processing direction. Extroversion is not loud confidence. It is the preference to validate incoming data against the outer world first. An introvert can own the stage yet recharge by circling back to subjective impressions. An extrovert can enjoy solitude yet still default to external benchmarks for final reality checks. Confuse the direction, and you will diagnose yourself with social anxiety when you are simply navigating against your native current. Picture 2 HR directors reading the same resume. The extroverted feeling director scans for cultural fit, harmony phrases, and collective impact verbs. The introverted thinking director hunts for logical gaps, metrics, and premise flaws. Same document, opposite starting points, opposite scores. Neither is biased. They are running different attitude filters that feed different master functions. Attitudes tell where the flashlight points. Functions tell what the beam illuminates. Time to meet the 4 whats. Thinking does not mean high IQ. It means the mind prioritizes true-false before good-bad. Feeling does not mean emotional. It means the mind consults values and relational impact before logical coherence. Sensation is not ADHD hyperfocus. It trusts verifiable facts that exist right here, right now. Intuition is not mystical fortune-telling. It spots abstract patterns and future possibilities faster than present evidence can catch up. Memorize those 4 operational definitions because every daily crossroads asks exactly one of those questions first. Each function leaves a micro-behavior fingerprint. Introverted thinking corrects the premise of your sentence before it answers. Extroverted feeling notices who has not spoken and invites them in real time. Introverted sensing remembers the exact seat number from 3rd grade. Extroverted intuition jumps topics so quickly that listeners need a seatbelt. Spot the fingerprints, and you can name the algorithm operating across the table, on Twitter, or inside your own skull. Now splice each function with an attitude, and you get 8 living cognitive algorithms. If functions were smartphone apps, here are their default push notifications. Extroverted thinking. Does this optimize the system? Introverted thinking. Is this internally coherent? Extroverted feeling. Will this maintain harmony? Introverted feeling. Does this align with my core values? Extroverted sensing. What is the concrete fact right now? Introverted sensing. How does this compare to past precedent? Extroverted intuition. What else could this become? Introverted intuition. What is the symbolic undertone no one mentioned? Watch the algorithms duel during a server outage in an open plan office. The extroverted thinking manager barks step-by-step checkpoints. The introverted thinking coder mutates the code in silence, hunting the logical flaw. The extroverted feeling colleague circles the room, calming interns. The introverted feeling designer refuses to push the patch until it aligns with the brand ethos. The extroverted sensing tech yanks cables until something lights green. The introverted sensing veteran insists the same bug struck in 2019 and pulls the archived fix. The extroverted intuition consultant pitches migrating the entire stack to the cloud. The introverted intuition architect suddenly announces the root cause stems from an unspoken systemic pattern formed 6 months earlier. 8 sentences, 8 priorities, 1 crisis. Spot your automatic sentence, and you have found your dominant. But owning one superpowered app does not help if the rest of the operating system is malware. Your weakest function is not dumb. It is a sleeping co-founder holding 49% equity in every decision. Ignore it, and it will veto the board at 3 a.m. with a panic attack, an impulsive resignation, or an email you regret before sunrise. The name of that veto is the shadow function, and tomorrow, we open its ledger. Picture the same server crisis, but slow the tape at the moment the crisis hotline rings. The extroverted sensor CTO storms the server room, flashlight in hand, hunting for a blinking cable. His inferior function, introverted intuition, sleeps through the alarm. Hours later, when the logical trail dies and adrenaline crashes, that silent partner hijacks the steering wheel. Sudden catastrophic thoughts, conviction that the company will fold, an urge to sell every share tomorrow. The next morning, he blames fatigue, never noticing the sabotage came from the function he never let speak in meetings. That is the shadow in real time. Young Stack is not a cozy talent show. It is a power hierarchy. Dominant, auxiliary, tertiary, inferior. The auxiliary must balance both category and direction. If your dominant is a judging function, thinking or feeling, the auxiliary must be a perceiving function, sensation or intuition, and it must face the opposite attitude. This constitutional opposition prevents the psyche from becoming a monarchy, but it also creates an exiled fourth function that swears revenge. Spot the trigger, and you capture the saboteur red-handed. Step 1. List your last 3 overreactions. Times you hurled a phone, sobbed at a spreadsheet, froze in abstract brainstorms, or mocked a colleague's irrational hunch. Step 2. Circle which function was being publicly embarrassed. That is the inferior's bruise. Dominant thinkers who mock emotional meetings are often nursing extroverted feeling inferior. Dominant feelers who call data soulless are usually dodging introverted thinking inferior. Dominant sensors who ridicule head-in-the-cloud strategy are shaming introverted intuition. Dominant intuitives who label details boring are suppressing extroverted sensation. Name the bruise, and you have located the fuse. Integration starts with a daily 10-minute shadow seat. If you are a sensor, shut the laptop and write 3 future scenarios that contain 0 present facts. No numbers, no precedent, only symbols and hunches. If you are an intuitive, open a stopwatch and catalog every physical object on your desk, noting weight, texture, temperature, ground consciousness in the tangible until the impulse to daydream passes. If you are a thinker, draft an apology email you will never send, prioritizing relational harmony over logical defense. If you are a feeler, build a simple pro-con matrix for the decision you are postponing. Award the win to the column, not the heart. Do it daily for 30 days, and the unconscious veto loses its majority stake. Jung's endgame was never categorization. It was alchemy. Transmute leaden compulsion into golden choice. He called the process individuation, conscious dialogue with every function until none can hijack the ego. Unlike the MBTI merchandise aisle, individuation is lifelong, not one time. Picture a spiral staircase. Each lap you recognize the same landing from a higher altitude. At 20, you realize you are a dominant thinker. At 30, you befriend the auxiliary sensation that keeps you grounded. At 40, you negotiate with the tertiary intuition that sparks creativity. At 50, you finally host the inferior reel, feeling dinner instead of locking it in the basement. Only then do stops feeling like fate. Schedule the conversation, or the unconscious will schedule it for you. Week 1. Observe. Carry a pocket notepad. Mark moments of disproportionate irritation or inexplicable fatigue. Week 2. Record. Write a single sentence that completes "I felt like I was Erner Karzergorier Erzergor. Deliberately activate the opposite function for 10 uninterrupted minutes. No multitasking, no judgment. Week 4. Integrate. Pair the new behavior with a real decision. The sensor adds 1 speculative investment. The intuitive finalizes 1 detailed budget. The thinker opens a team-building activity. The feeler publishes 1 data-driven report. Repeat the 4-week cycle quarterly. The psyche upgrades like software, not hardware. But knowledge without antidote is poison. The internet is littered with superiority memes. Never date a feeler. Sensors are corporate drones. Intuitives can't balance a checkbook. These are defense mechanisms masquerading as insight. Type is preference. not prison. Development, not destiny. If you find yourself weaponizing your dominant function, dismissing others as illogical, oversensitive, narrow-minded, or airy-fairy, congratulations, you have located your shadow broadcasting in real time. Golden rule. The function you mock is the function you secretly fear you need. So you arrived asking, which box am I? Leave asking, which part have I locked out? Tomorrow morning, listen for the first automatic sentence in your head. The critique, the compliment, the forecast, the fact check. That is your dominant barking orders. Then listen for the faint whisper that immediately follows, the one you interrupt. Roll your eyes at, promise to deal with later. That is the shadow politely requesting amnesty. Answer it, and the battery icon moves, slowly, inexorably, back toward full.